Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I like to welcome all the devotees and viewers for our discussion on this very important topic of reading Srila Prabhupada's books every day. It is our good fortune today and a privilege to have with us a very senior devotee within ISKCON, His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj. His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj has touched the lives of many, many devotees in our movement through his Vani, through his Kirtans, and his personal example. He has guided many devotees around the world. Maharaj came in the movement at the time when Prabhupada was present. Maharaj is an initiated disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj is a sannyasi, initiating spiritual master, and so many other things. So we'd like to welcome His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, it's such a pleasure to have your association today. And we are enthused to ask you so many things, given your intimate association with Srila Prabhupada. The first that I would want to know from you is, when was your first experience and interaction with Srila Prabhupada's books?
Hare. Well, from the very first time I had an encounter with Hare Krishna movement, from that day onwards, I came in contact with Srila Prabhupada's book. This was in 1971, the Hare Krishna festival at Churchgate, near station. Yeah, so I had attended that festival and of course heard Srila Prabhupada. I was very much impressed by the kirtan that devotees had performed on the stage. And there was a book table. Those days we had few books, smaller books, back to Godheads. So I did not have much money to purchase all the books. So with whatever little money I had at disposal, my pocket money, I was a college student those days. So I purchased Srila Prabhupada's books, Lord in the Heart, and First Step in God Realization. Now, those were chapters from Bhagavatam. They were published, some back to Godheads. So that was my takeaway from this festival. I took some books of Srila Prabhupada, and I was a chemistry student, and I used to hide Srila Prabhupada's books in chemistry, thick, fat books, and read them because I did not want my roommates or others to know that what I was getting into. So I was reading Prabhupada's books and back to Godhead, and so that is how my life, in fact, began, with reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and then I also was hidingly chanting and dancing also. So it was very ecstatic times.
That's very interesting, Maharaj. You were hiding Srila Prabhupada's books in the chemistry books. Maharaj, in those, when you started reading Prabhupada's books, are there some excerpts or something that left a deep impression in your heart in 1971, 72?
Yeah, well, one thing that stood out was, I was into social welfare. I wanted to serve the humanity and the society, and I wanted to become Deshbhakta and serve my countrymen. But I did not know where to begin. But as I heard Srila Prabhupada during those lecture series at Hare Krishna Festival, as well as I read Srila Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada was making this point strongly that, giving example from Bhagavatam, Yatha Mulani Sechanena, you pour the water or the fertilizer on the root of the tree, then the trunk, the branches, the fruits, the flower, everything is nourished. So we are the leaves or the branches, and the Lord is the root. So serve the root, the tree is flourished or served. So I got that point. That by I would give credit to Prabhupada Vani during those lecture series and to Prabhupada's books, which I was reading. So gave me a whole direction. I was confused. I did not know where to begin. I wanted to serve and to serve. So Prabhupada taught me through his books that serve the Lord. And you're serving the humanity, including your family members and neighbors and friends, like that. So I learned that from Prabhupada's books, from Prabhupada.
Maharaj, has Srila Prabhupada's books and Vani remained a constant companion for you every day since 1971?
I like that word companion because, yes, I think I spend more time of my life in the company of Srila Prabhupada's books more than anything else, I would say. Yes, even while eating, sometimes I eat with one hand and I read or hold the book in other hand and read. When I travel, and some of our leaders, they travel with the deities there. But I have traveled with Srila Prabhupada's books, and instead of worshiping deities, which is a nice thing to do, I regret I don't do it. But I think I worship Srila Prabhupada's books wherever I go, and for those days I literally used to carry a small case or suitcase filled with Prabhupada's books and travel now. It become easier. I carry my laptop and all Prabhupada's books are there. And during the journey also, I spend time in the company of the books, and chanting of Hare Krishna and reading Srila Prabhupada's books. So I think my companion is Srila Prabhupada's books, Srila Prabhupada's Vani.
Maharaj, this mood of worshipping the books and this, where does the inspiration come from?
I don't know. That's me. Even during my childhood days, I used to just read and read and read. And of course, those days, unfortunately, I was reading my textbooks in the school, high school, or college, or reading other literature, other books. Or when I was in my village, and my parents would send me herding cows or some buffaloes also. I used to read. The cows are grazing, and I used to stand right behind the cow or buffalo also. While they were grazing, I used to graze also. I used to also read. Keep an eye on the cow or the buffalo with one eye, sidelong glance, and I used to read. So I know I was born with this I had a habit of reading, and luckily I later on and coming in contact with this Hare Krishna movement and Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's books. Then I switched from mundane studies and reading and literature to transcendental books of Srila Prabhupada's. So but then Prabhupada said, when he said in regards to how to become like it, we say, Pratikshana Swadana Lolupasya Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindam. Our acharyas, they do a swadan, pratikshana at every step. So when someone asked Srila Prabhupada about how to develop this aswadan or addiction to reading Prabhupada's books or even addiction to the chanting of the holy name, Prabhupada said, well, how does one become drug addict? He takes few drugs here and there, and after a few days and after a few weeks, and or he would drink alcohol, and gradually, as he ends up becoming drug addict, right, or alcoholic. He doesn't become overnight alcoholic or drug addict. So, so like that, if we also keep reading and keep reading and keep reading and keep reading, then one day we will also become addicted to reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And it is the nature of these books, or what is said in these books is, it is close to our nature. It is our nature, it's our constitutional position to read or hear. This is, as we read more books, which is hearing, chanting, which is Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Then, that verse also says Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. As you read or hear the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam especially, you could say, then one day you will end up becoming Bhaktira Bhavati Naishtiki. You will become Nishthavan. So in the beginning, you had some Shraddha, some faith. By reading these books, you will get to know the Lord. I am to be known by studies of these Vedas or studies of Srila Prabhupada books. I am to be known. Lord is to be known. So we have some Shraddha, some faith, and you begin there. But as you go on reading, hearing, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, then what happens? You become Nishthavan. You were Shraddhavan, and now you become Nishthavan, and that is by Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, by regularly reading and hearing. And what is Nishtha? Prabhupada says that means irreversible. No more U-turns. You will keep going. You will keep going. Prior to that, there's a risk of you taking U-turn. But if you go on reading and hearing, doing Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, or Nityam Bhagavad Gita Sevaya, or Nityam Nectar of Devotion Sevaya, then you become Nishthavan, and Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti, you will develop devotion unto the Lord, and you get attached to the Lord, and that further asakti and all those things are there. So, really, yeah.
Maharaj, we all want to be in that situation of Nishtha, where we have an unflinching, irreversible faith and taste for hearing and chanting. Maharaj, you described that how you worship Srila Prabhupada's books, quite literally. You also had the benefit of being an avid reader before you came in, and then you engaged that in the service of Srila Prabhupada's books. Maharaj, what adjustments do sadhakas, or we all must make or have to make in our lives uh, before we reach that stage of irreversible faith, unflinching faith? Because, to be honest, we come across situations where we don't have taste for reading Prabhupada's books. We don't have determination to be able to do it every day. And sometimes we've also heard, to the extent that some devotees say statements such as, I've read it already. I've read the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, already read. Or they even go to the extreme of saying, I find it boring. You know, what adjustment should we make in our mood of approaching these books, which will allow us to also taste the same way that you're able to taste the nectar in Bhaktivedanta purports?
Hari Hari. Hari Hari. Well, there's so many ways you could respond to that. But one thing I was thinking was, we want to become Rupa Nugas. We want to be Prabhupada Nugas. We all are either disciples or also now grand disciples, and soon there'll be great grand disciples of Srila Prabhupada. So we want to develop or maintain that relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada as our ISKCON founder, Acharya. Then, we had to listen to him, right? To hear him, become his disciple. If you don't become his disciple, you're going to be Kalir Chela. You're going to be Chela, or a disciple of the age of Kali. So those who do not read Srila Prabhupada's books, or those who say, yes, I have read once, again, I would say it's not, maybe you read once, but you have not studied Srila Prabhupada's books. Mm-hmm. And I want to make a difference between reading and studying. You're supposed to maybe read newspaper. I'm not recommending read it. But, just running through quickly and, that is reading, but then studying, going deeper into the subject matter, which is Krishna, right? Which is Krishna. Yes. So, Hari Hari. So it is, I'm saying in different ways, different things. Yeah, so Krishna is a bit Tribhanga Lalitam. Yeah, some devotees explain this way. He's bent in three forms. So while you're trying to take him in, because he's bent, it's a bit difficult to bring him in. But if he gets in there, then getting him out is also tough. Bent in three places. Somehow, realizing importance of Krishna, having Krishna, realizing Krishna, we have to not only read, but we have to study Srila Prabhupada's books, and it is expected that each time you read, you will understand more. So I'm sure you have understood something about Krishna by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, but that's not sufficient. The full realization of Krishna is a goal. Krishna as he is. That's why Bhagavad Gita as it is there, so that you can understand Krishna as he is. So to realize Krishna fully, you'll have to keep reading and keep reading. Reading is hearing. Reading is hearing. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. The remembrance of Krishna is, it's a goal. That is what gopis do. They always remember Krishna. They'll never forget Krishna. So how is this remembrance achieved? By Shravanam, Kirtanam. Shravan, hearing, Kirtan, talking. So I would say Shravanam is read my books, and Kirtan is distribute my books. Either you could talk, do Kirtan, or you could distribute Srila Prabhupada's books and share Kirtan with Srila Prabhupada. So reading Srila Prabhupada's books is hearing Prabhupada. Like in the middle of the night, Prabhupada took so much trouble doing the dictations, and those dictations were transcribed, and then a manuscript and the proofreading, a book laid out and printed, and you have the book in the hand. And as you read, what are you doing? You are hearing what Prabhupada had spoken one night, the dictation. So it is like Prabhupada is doing Kirtan, and as you read, you are doing Shravanam, Shravan Utsav, you are Shravan Sapta, you are celebrating. So and that doesn't have to last for only 7 days. We want to read Prabhupada's books. Every day you hear about Krishna, every day, right? That is what happens in Golok Vrindavan. Shravanam, Kirtanim, all that happens, and then remembrance is there. If you wish to go back to home, then this reading is not so, I have read once. But we have to prepare ourselves constitutionally, reviving our spirit, and then not just surviving, but thriving, fully awakening our consciousness. And that will be achieved by, hearing. That meant reading all the time, or discussion. Like 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Nana Shastra Vicharinai Kanipuno Sadharma Samsthapako. They would have a big pile of scriptures in the middle, 6 Goswamis sitting around, and they are doing Bodhiyantaha Parasparam. They are instructing, reminding of this and that, and giving comments and comment upon comment. So that also, Bodhiyanta, and the study of the books is also done like a group study. Reading maybe just by yourself, but study, a group study. Yeah, wife and husband could also sit together and read and share their realization in the middle of what they have heard or read. Or there are so many other forums for Bhakti Vraksha or Nam Hat, or Srila Prabhupada instituted this Bhagavatam class and Bhagavad Gita class, and Prabhupada is a founder Acharya of Bhakti Shastri also.
Yes.
Prabhupada wanted that his books not be just read but studied, so he made the whole plan. Bhakti Shastri, then Bhakti Vedanta, Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Sarvabhauma. So this is all will and the vision of Srila Prabhupada. So we have to unfold it. We have to go through all this. Then we are Rupanugas, Prabhupada Nugas. Otherwise, we are following our mind. I think, I have read one. This is mental speculation. I think I have read once, and that's.
Yes. And Maharaj, of course, I was making a extreme statement when devotees have read it once, but the mood could still be there. I've read enough, kind of a mood. Maharaj, in the process of kirtan, in the process of chanting the holy name, there are certain obstacles, certain offenses that are there to be able to actually access the holy name. In your experience now spanning for so many decades, almost more than 50 years as part of this movement itself, what would you say, Maharaj, could be offenses when one approaches the spiritual literature or Bhakti Vedanta purports? I put it the other way around. What is the right attitude, the right mood to adopt and what are the wrong attitudes and wrong moods to leave aside, so that we can develop the nishtha that you just referred to, develop the taste, the love, to be able to see transformation happening in our own lives by this deep study.
Yeah, well, one of the 10 offenses, which one is that? Disobey the orders of the spiritual master. Yeah, so that's offense against the holy name. So disobeying the orders of the spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada was expecting that his books be read. So if we do not
Maharaj,
read,
on that note, I wanted to ask you, I'm sorry for interrupting. In your personal interaction, or when you were present, do you remember any anecdote or any instance on that particular note of Srila Prabhupada insisting or instructing or asking devotees to read?
Well, I could just quickly say whether that's the perfect response to your question, but I wanted when I took sannyas, I wanted to, of course, read Prabhupada's books more, and Prabhupada. So I approached Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, please give me permission to go to Vrindavan and study your books. Prabhupada said, yes, you should study, you have to study my books, but you don't have to go to Vrindavan. You study here, you preach here. So that was in Bombay. So, so Prabhupada, as he instructed me, I'm sure he has instructed the whole world. I heard that, when this book distribution project or distributing books everywhere in large quantity, even at the airports, Prabhupada was inspiring devotees to distribute his books. I heard that Prabhupada, either he said or he meant to say, that you read my books, read books, read books, read books, and then distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. So devotees were so enthusiastic that they just were there, or they just listened to half of the instruction: distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. But read my books, read my books, read my books. That they had no patience to sit around and listen to that and follow. The Prabhupada's instruction is complete. Read my read my books, and then distribute my books, distribute my books, distribute my books. Yeah. Well, in the sixth canto of Bhagavatam, the Yamadutas, Prabhupada says in the purport that they were not able, or not competently, they were able to represent their master Yamaraj when they were challenged. And Prabhupada says, just see, you have to, in order to represent myself, you have to read my books or represent Krishna or spiritual master. You have to read and be competent. Otherwise, you will be defeated, or will be embarrassing situation. So, read books.
Maharaj, you mentioned the example of the Yamadutas from Srimad Bhagavatam. I wanted to ask you, in these 50 years, have you noticed the other side of the story? What happens if devotees, leaders, managers in all walks of devotional life, if they are not engaging in hearing Prabhupada's Vani, what happens to the spiritual lives? And if there are some anecdotes you want to share without giving names uh, of what you've seen happen in the movement, to just as a sense of warning, as a sense of caution for all of us.
Well, as I said earlier, that we could either be Chela or disciple of Srila Prabhupada or grand disciple. Otherwise, there's Kali is a master, and we could be Kali Chelas or Kali's followers, disciples. And then, we'll exhibit all the symptoms of people of this age of Kali, which are described in the Bhagavatam, first canto. Mandaha will remain lazy, or maybe we are lazy. That is why we do not want to read books. I mean, some devotees, my disciple, he said, these days he's not well. I'm sleeping for 10 hours. And he also, in the same letter, he said, now I'm able to chant only 8 or 10 rounds. And the balanced rounds I will catch up in next 3-4 years. So he wanted my advice.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Prabhu, this is being lazy. 10 hours of sleep. Okay, you are not well, so you could extend it up to 8 hours. So if you get up early or cut down your sleeping, you could be chanting all your rounds or more rounds than prescribed 16 rounds. So likewise, those who are mandaha, lazy, if they could cut down, there's some sleeping time or gossip time or this time or that time, and use that time for reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Manda sumanda matayo means people of this age of Kali could be very easily misguided. So we were very much misguided by the scientists and politicians and this party and that party, and were misguided. So if we want to remain misguided, then don't read Prabhupada's books. But if you wish to get a proper guidance, right guidance, then we have to read Srila Prabhupada's books. So others have washed our brains, made our brains dirty, and Srila Prabhupada, in a true sense, he is washing our brains as we read Prabhupada's books. Then our consciousness becomes clear and clean, and we begin to see things as they are. So mandaha, lazy, sumandamato, misguided we are, so we want to get proper guidance. Manda, samandamato, manda bhagya, we are so unfortunate, very unfortunate, and very unfortunate. So, but then Prabhupada once said, there's a couple that said, they were talking to each other, and the wife said, my dear husband, chant, chant, chant. And the husband said, can't, can't, can't. And Prabhupada said, just see how unfortunate they are. Then Prabhupada added, said, it is our mission. It is our mission, Hare Krishna movement's mission, to make these unfortunate people fortunate. They may say can't, but we still go on the streets and chant, chant, chant. So likewise, some devotees maybe or others can't read, but we have to still remind them that is what your ministry, education ministry is doing. Good job organizing this Shravan Utsav Shravan, International Shravan Saptaha. And you were asked to do this by our ultimate managers, GBCs, in the last year's GBC meeting. Now, they were concerned about reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And as Prabhupada had complained about us, his disciples, that you are not reading my books enough. So that was a complaint. And that complaint kind of remains to this day. His disciples were not reading enough, and our grand disciples are reading even a little less than we read Prabhupada's books. So this has been observed by the leadership of this movement, the GBCs. So they had been deliberating and they were concerned, and then they came up with this festival or 1 week long whole program, festival, to remind devotees from around the world that we had to read books, we had to read Srila Prabhupada's books. So, and I congratulate and that Tapan Mishra Prabhu on behalf of Education Ministry is doing a good job getting so many leaders to make a statement of reminder to the devotees around the world or even general public that they have to read Srila Prabhupada's books. And if you do not read, then that's very unfortunate. And if you read, then you'll be fortunate. Mandaha samandamatayo mandavagya. And that Bhagavatam statement is upadvritaha. People are always in trouble. We're always in trouble. So if we wish to get out of trouble, and the big trouble are of 4 different kinds, that is Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, birth, death, old age, disease, trouble. So reading Srila Prabhupada's books is a solution to those problems, those troubles. By reading Srila Prabhupada's books, we could get out of that trouble once and for all. So, Hari Hari.
Yes, Maharaj.
Please take.
I mean, you give us a lot of hope, Maharaj. You give us a lot of hope with your words and with your realization. We already feel nourished. We feel encouraged that if for 50 years the Srila Prabhupada's books have been your constant companion, your source of inspiration and strength, then if we follow in the footsteps of senior Vaishnavas like yourself, then we could also change our lives, get out of the laziness, and to be able to take proper shelter. Maharaj, it is mentioned that Srila Prabhupada, that these books are alive, and that Srila Prabhupada lives forever through his books. Maharaj, for those who've not experienced this, can you help us appreciate this point of how these books are alive and how Srila Prabhupada lives through his books, and how we will see from these blunt eyes this phenomena of them being alive? It's something you can share for all of us.
It is called Shastra Chakshusha, right? Shastra Chakshusha. Shastra, Chakshu. Shastra are the scriptures. Srila Prabhupada's books are scriptures. And they become Chakshu, they become your eyes. Otherwise, you are blind. And as soon as you begin reading these books, Srila Prabhupada's books, the Shastras, then they are eye openers, right? They open your eyes. Oma Jnana Timirandhasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya. The Jnana Anjan, the ointment of knowledge, is put into your eyes, and then you begin to see, and then that Jnananjan transforms into Premanjan, and then Santaha Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti, and then within your heart you could see the Lord. So So what you are, when you're reading books, I mean, you are seeing the Lord. But to show you the Lord, you wear the glasses in the form of the scriptures, and you see the Lord who is lively. You become lively, and you're seeing the Sachidananda Vigraha. So there's no matter, dead matter involved here. It's all life there. So these books are not just physical, paper and then some black or ink or even the paintings are Prabhupada said, window to the spiritual sky. You are looking at the painting, and each painting is 1,000 words, and then like making a hole at the thick covering of the universe, make a window. You are within the universe, but as you see through these books with the glasses of these books or looking at the paintings, then you are able to see beyond this universe. You could have a Doordarshan, darshan of the Lord who is at a great distance, Doordarshan. In India, we have Doordarshan, television is called Doordarshan.
Yes.
So seeing somebody, in the next city from Bombay, that is not very dur, that's not very far. But to see the Lord who resides in Golok, to see him, that is real Doordarshan.
Yes.
So you get darshan as by reading these books. So it is not just a physical paper and some ink, but it's all spiritual, and it's all Lord, and Lord's form, Lord's qualities, Lord's pastimes, Lord's abode. The whole thing is described. So, and it's all eternal. The form is eternal, qualities, pastime, everything is eternal. So entering into that eternal realm. And then you also end up becoming eternal. No? Otherwise, your life was getting interrupted. Okay, you're born and then you're dead again. Come to an end. Born again. Christian are born again. Whatever. But no more birth, no more death. You also become eternal by coming in contact with this eternality or eternal Lord, eternal abode, eternal name, eternal pastimes, eternal qualities. So the books, Shastras, their authority, their evidence. And then these books are also called, scriptures are called manuals. Then you know how to karya vivasthitihi, what to do, what is right thing to do, what is wrong thing that you may end up doing. How do you know? You know from the Shastras. You know from Prabhupada's books.
Maharaj, even if briefly you were, through your realizations and potency, you were able to give us a glimpse of how it becomes alive, how you actually can get access through Jnananjana and then Premanjana. We all aspire, Maharaj, to be in a position where we're able to chant the holy name regularly and properly with the proper attitude. Like me, not many devotees would have known that behind your potency to chant with so much love for Krishna was your love for Srila Prabhupada's books. So I'm so thankful to the Lord and Srila Prabhupada that they gave us an opportunity to have this discussion with you, to find out also one of the major pillars of your strength of being able to chant the holy name arises from Srila Prabhupada's Vani. Although to most of us it may seem like it's an obvious thing, where else do you think it comes from? We may also do lip service to this statement, but to hear from somebody who's living life like that is very inspiring for us. I wanted to remind everyone that very soon we are also going to have the World Holy Name Week, the Kirtan Festival, from the 17th to the 23rd of September. And Maharaj is heading and organizing for years. We are all benefiting from that. And going back to the first few statements that Maharaj made about watering the root, like we're reminded, Bhaktilata Beach is watered by Shravan and Kirtan. And Maharaj, you very, in simple words and short, very eloquently described to us what the Shravan is. It is indeed reading Prabhupada's books. Maharaj, any parting message, last message that you like to give to the devotees in ISKCON, the leaders, the general public about reading Prabhupada's books?
Well, just the thought as you were talking about World Holy Name Festival, we also had been talking or thinking, remembering, as Prabhupada said, books are the basis. Then we were thinking that the basis of chanting is also Prabhupada's books. Chanting is based on Prabhupada's books. So everything is based on Prabhupada's books. And chanting, so now you have laid down solid foundation of books, or reading Srila Prabhupada's books. We want to base our World Holy Name Festival on this solid foundation of the Shravan Saptaha, Shravan Utsav, and we'll build up our World Holy Name Festival on it, and we take inspiration. Yeah, I think this week had been very inspiring, as you are having different interviews and lots of opportunity to hear, discuss the books of Srila Prabhupada. So I'm sure that has inspired all of us to now. And the essence of books is also the holy name. So now we'll go for the next week, which is a World Holy Name Saptaha, World Holy Name Festival, which is beginning on 17th of September, just a week from now, 17th through 23rd. So once again, I thank for this opportunity to talk about Srila Prabhupada's books. Thank you, Mr. Prabhu. And
Maharaj, I hope that you'll give us more opportunity in the future also to hear more from you on this topic.
Okay.
When I treat your words, your encouraging words, Maharaj, like that of a father to a child. Sometimes the father encourages the small child in the things that they're trying to do nicely. In that spirit, please forgive us for any shortcomings or things that we're trying to put together in the very first instance with very little resources. But I am hopeful that your encouragement and with your blessings, we will be able to not just stop here, because the week, it's called a week, but the whole theme, as you summarize, the books are the basis and they have to be done every day. Maharaj, I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you so very much for giving us the time to hear from you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to Srila Prabhupada's transcendental books. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Lord Premanande.